Hey everyone, welcome back. We skipped a week because of this guy right over
Ah,
here.
let's not lie, Jared. Jared had excuses, guys.
Yeah,
Excuses.
excuses. Yeah, actually it was working. Was it working? Wait, what was I doing? Oh yeah, we had a pitch competition on Saturday, and I was teaching a class, so it was pretty cool. My company's doing really well. It's not bad, man. We are about like a month away from launch, which is super cool.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it is nice, man. Like, so it's all going well. So of course, like the investors now are getting more serious because they're like, oh, you have a product. Oh, well, that's interesting. So, anyways, okay. Did you want to start with mine, or do you want to start with yours? What would you like to start with?
Well, let's start with mine real quick, and then we'll move to the bulk of it because we're going to be focusing more on your topic. So, a couple things. Something that doesn't happen very often before. We're going to give a shout out to PlayStation's Chief Executive Officer Jim Ryan. He retires as leading through Sony through some successful years, passing the torch to interim Chief Executive Officer or Ricky Taki. Forgive me,
Whoa,
Japanese is
man.
not very good. I probably butchered his name. Ryan acknowledges PlayStation's special company culture and values his time working for the brand during the PlayStation 5 era. PlayStation could be set to innovate in the future with rumors of a new handheld device in partnership with AMD. Ooh, we've been talking about that for a while, right? Though unconfirmed, the PlayStation Chief Executive Officer Ryan is working on his final day as head of Sony's gaming giant, as the executive is set to retire from the company on March 29th. So it's 30th, so obviously it happened yesterday. He was promoted to this position in 2019 to lead PlayStation through some of its most successful years. So that's good. And then the report goes on and on and on. But yeah. So a little bit of change of leadership in the PlayStation era, our gaming business. So, like we said, you know this, Jared. PlayStation's pretty much a Western brand now. That they kind of Sony's kind of given up on. I mean, they still have a presence in Japan, but nothing compared to the iron fist known as Nintendo in mobile gaming. So it's going to be interesting that they want to branch into possibly handheld. Do you think that might get a foothold into their native country, or
Well, I think keep this because this is going to have some play into what I want to talk about. Because I think if what I'm going to talk about comes true, I think the entire landscape is going. I think it's going to change, and you and I have kind of been talking about this for a little while.
Oh yeah.
So keep going because we'll come back to like handhelds and all of that. I think things honestly, I think the next 5 years things are going to get real interesting
Yeah.
if what I'm about to tell you guys comes true.
Yeah, exactly. When we talk about this, it's gonna be kind of interesting because there's a lot of potential changes. Like I was focusing on Sony or the Japanese market. Japanese market is predominantly hugely mobile, right? We know that, and of course, Nintendo. Nintendo literally, what I think, like last year had 98% of the Japanese
Oh yeah.
console
Yeah.
market. So there's no wiggle room there. I mean, Sony probably has their loyal, but it's amazing though, Jared. Like you remember back in the N64 era, we would have never imagined Nintendo having such a threshold or a grip on their
Well, I,
native
I think
market.
I think I think we got to put everything into perspective, right? Like I think a lot of it like Nintendo people tend to think like the Nintendo 64 like totally, killed Nintendo type of thing. And it's not like I wish Steven was here for this kind of part because like he'd be good at like talking about, different parts of the Nintendo discussion, but the thing with Nintendo is it's not so much like yes, the N64 compared to the Super Nintendo and the Super Nintendo compared to the NES, yes, they were constantly going down.
Yes.
Constantly. But it it still was a successful platform. It's just that sort of like a behemoth was unleashed with the PlayStation 1. And so, like that, like the PlayStation 1 created a market, stole Nintendo, market share, not all, but like like what, probably
A good chunk,
50%
yeah.
of their market share. and stole literally 100% of the Sega market share, and then created an entire new market share with the whole like adult market, which hadn't existed up to that particular point in time.
Yeah.
And so history is a little
true.
skewed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
because of that, because it's like Nintendo didn't do bad. Like if you go back and you look in like Japan and whatever, like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy were going to be released on the Nintendo 64. It was just that Sony just, man, they wrecked face. Like they just dominated when they came out. And you know, we get a little like sidetracked from that because it's like Sony dominated all over the world. And that was I think that was like the catalyst where we get a little like confused about this. But like Nintendo's never done bad in Japan. It's not
exactly.
You know, they've always done well. It's just, again, like putting things into perspective. The PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 eras, that was something else. You know, like we've not really seen that much similar, except for, ironically, the Wii and the Switch.
Yep. The Wii
Those
and the Switch.
are two comparables where they just dominated all over planet Earth. So like I wouldn't say that like Nintendo was ever like, you know, not successful in their hometown. It's just that comparatively to different things, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they're killing it right now. They're absolutely killing it. And I want to do a podcast with you and Steven.
Yeah, we need to get all three. Yeah.
I really want to talk to you guys about like where Nintendo goes, because like you always talk about like the PC side and stuff, and then he bugs you and you bug him. But it would be actually good to get the two of you guys to have different perspectives. It'd be very interesting to hear what you guys think about certain things of where we're going to go, because honestly, I've been looking forward to this all week, this podcast.
Yeah. And so am I. And a quick thing before we switch gears to the next thing, before we get to our bread and butter of the podcast, is it's even to this day, and I always wondered, and I think it's maybe because of pricing, maybe because of brand loyalty or that, but traditionally Nintendo doesn't do that great in the European market. If you look at their numbers compared, even the Switch, I mean, it's still a success, but like you hear headlines of, oh, the Nintendo, I think it was the Mario Kart, one of those Nintendo games that recently came out last year, breaks the top 10 in the UK. And it's like, wow, is that not a common occurrence? I guess it's not. So I always wondered, do you know the reason why?
No, I can't. I like, because Steven's probably pulling his hair out right now, saying, you're all wrong, you idiots.
No. Nintendo doesn't do that great in the UK. I mean,
I don't know.
Comparatively, I mean, it's still successes, but compared to like the United States and Japan, that's the thing. When you compare, like, oh, well, it doesn't do as good as this place. Obviously, it's a failure. And like you just pointed out, Nintendo's never done poorly in Japan overall. So you have to put it in perspective. But sales-wise, we need to do next time. We need to bring up the numbers when we talk.
Yeah, I honestly,
we do that we need to actually get our numbers to know. But I do know that Nintendo doesn't do so great in Europe compared to.
Yeah.
That's beside the point.
I can't comment on that. So, Steven, correct us. Tell us you're a bunch of morons.
I
and like,
I do know that. Idea. I don't know if Steven follows Europe.
No, Steven knows his Nintendo stuff. So, like, he would definitely be able to say, hey, dumb
fanboy. He's blinded by loyalty. But thinking of which, though, it'd be interesting about perspective about PC. Now, the PC market's interesting. It's always been doom and gloom, but it's never gone away. It's actually been pretty successful the last several years, more than it's ever been. But Gen Z and Gen Alpha don't get desktops. A lot of the millennials didn't even get desktops. So it is definitely a market that's going to shrink, I think.
Well,
over time.
Hold on.
But we'll
time
see.
out.
We'll
We'll see about that.
Let's get into the next quick topic. So this never happens, guys. This never happens. It was a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Oh, well, it was also on PCs, but it was a console exclusive. So you're gonna, it's not 100% true. It was on PC. It's on Steam and stuff. Maybe Epic, but definitely Steam. Predator Hunting Grounds is being resurrected for PlayStation 5 and Xbox, so an exclusive for Sony with new content. The new Elphonic the who was the developer is the developer of the game was not the publisher. Sony was the publisher. Elphonic, the new publisher of Predator Hunting Grounds, has announced that the 1 versus 4 game multiplayer game will be coming to Xbox Series X, S, and PlayStation 5. And not only that, new content. The first update for the current platforms, PlayStation 4 and the PC, will be it next month, which is almost here. We'll be getting a bug fix, balance changes. So a little history about this game. Now, ASIMs traditionally are kind of cursed. You have Dead by Daylight, which is the big behemoth who came out one of the very first. So usually, traditionally, if you look through history, the first usually, is a pioneer, and they tend to stick throughout the years. There's a couple things about this genre. They say it's cursed. So we'll go there, because you have to remember the best thing about Dead by Daylight is it is multi-licensed, meaning you have Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers, Alien Killer just released, Resident Evil. Even Ash is in there as a survivor. So it has a huge access to a substantial amount of different IPs. Now, obviously, the developer and publisher have to pay money to get it. It's not like they get it for free. But the game has been so successful that it allows them to have deep pockets and continue the game. So every 3 months, it gets an update, new characters, new killers. The core mechanic of the game, there's never been a new mode until actually just recently, after all these years. And it's pretty rinsy. You just go generators and try to escape. The killer tries to hunt down the survivors, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty, dated by today's standards. Anyways, the thing is, the reason why it's so successful is because of that new content. Now, this is what a lot of live service games today, so I wouldn't say it's an ASIM curse, but live service games in general, is people are impatient, man. We've talked about this countless times. They go into a new ASIM like Evil Dead the game, Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, or whatever you want to name it. The upcoming one, Killer Clowns, is coming up. There's a trend, though, about those other games. They only are one IP, so that means they're extremely limited. Now, the publisher developers, of course, can go and try to get licensing agreements with other companies, right? That's a possibility. But again, these big developers, the cost of making these games are a lot. So these publishers, like I'm assuming here with Sony with the Predator, wasn't happy with the results. So screw it, we're done. We're not going to invest any more time and money into this game. So that's what problem when you have the big wigs making the decisions, because they want that big piece of the pie, I think. So you have a lot of pressure to perform. And when they don't, is it really worth investing more development time? I'm talking from a business perspective. The gamer perspective is way different, right? They want content right away. If people don't realize this, it's not that easy to make new content, right? And what's good about Dead by Daylight is they really didn't, they made new maps and stuff, but they just kind of focus on what I think a lot of gamers want is the new characters, new killers. So, it's a juggling act, and it's tough when you have a suit sitting there wanting expectations and extremely impatient user base. And then, of course, people are going to say, oh, no, it's all about balancing and this. And people have to realize the bulk of the gamers out there are casuals. As long as they log in, have a game, fine, and have a good time, that's all they really care about. Of course, you're going to have your hardcore tryhards who sit there and want the perfect balance, right, for their side. They want, if they're a killer main, they want the killer to be this OP giant that literally mops the floor, and the survivor side doesn't have any chance, et cetera. The other side, the same. So what is your feedback about that, Jared? It's extremely rare that this happens, guys. Most dead games never make it back, and this is good. Elphonics is kind of making a name for themselves as ASIM. Kind of that's been their focus, and sometimes being a small publisher or developer focusing on a certain market, you can be successful. They still update. What's it called? They're also the people behind Friday the 13th. I don't know if you know, but there was a lawsuit issue with rights, so that game's not allowed to make new content. Ghostbusters just got for Frozen Empire update, so yeah, I like it. I am going to get Killer Clowns, Jared. Take a video of it. It's awesome, especially if you're a fan of the movie.
No, for me, I like when games get a second chance, because sometimes, it could be any number of things, right? Sometimes it's just timing. Sometimes
could be
like they
timing,
just
yep.
were released at the wrong time, or the marketing wasn't right, or sometimes it's as simple as like the market itself just wasn't ready,
Exactly.
for
Too
that.
saturated. Yep.
That's it. I've said for years, we've talked about, like Sega Saturn. I've talked about this for years and years and years. Like, so many of those games, had they been released, like, say, like, slightly later or on different platforms or stuff like that, could have been really, really successful. Like, I love talking about Shining series and stuff like that. Like, today, I cannot believe that the world knows Fire Emblem, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I remember introducing you.
You got me to get the Game Boy.
Yeah,
the Game Boy Advance or one of those Game Boys for that game. You're like, do you believe me? Trust me. And it's such a great series.
Exactly.
I think it's the Switch versions. But
exactly, and it's like fast forward to today, and here we are, right? Like it's like a household name type of thing. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but you get the idea. It's like it really, it was really there, and yet in North America, Shining Force was first, and yet
it gets another
like it's like almost completely ignored just because of the timing, because of who released it, the platform it was on, yada yada yada, right? Like, so I'm just all this to say, like I'm a fan of that. I like when games get a second chance, especially if they're good, right? I've never experienced this, so
I'm going to be buying it. By the way, I kind of like A-Sims. By the way, I don't know if you like them. I got Evil Dead. I got Ghostbusters. I even have Dead by Daylight. The thing about Dead by Daylight, it's a little old compared to today's standards. I'm not too much of a fan of the hide and seek anymore. I like the more combat focus, like Evil Dead, Killer Clowns, where you could kill the killer. It's not, in Dead by Daylight, if you're not familiar with it, Jared, you have this killer. They can't be killed. They're like this spiritual entity.
Okay.
So the survivors literally have to run, hide, do little knock things over to slow the killer down while they're doing their objectives to escape. As a killer, you don't have to worry about getting killed. You can't. But the newer games, you can. Like the Predator can be killed. Now, obviously, they're tough because it's 1 versus 4, so you have to be
killed.
Of
course. Yeah.
But I think you hit the nail too. Is exclusive. It was PlayStation 4 exclusive, and Elphonics probably didn't like that, or maybe they did. Sony paid for the development, and then Sony's like, done, we're done. So now that they got the publishing rights, going multi-platform is definitely going to be better. If Onyx was smart, they put on Game Pass, but I never know the details about it. We have to look into that. Is Microsoft pay for Epic Game Store does that, where they buy exclusives for 6 months to a year, where they'll pay a developer, hey, put it on our platform, here, a chunk of money. And it's good because a lot of times they make their money back without even selling a copy of their game. So why would you not? Ultimately, long term, I don't think that's a good move, because Steam's definitely on PC side is definitely the place to be. But do you think Microsoft does that for Game Pass?
I think anybody. There's got to be an incentive, right? Like think of you.
Why would you?
Think of you, right? Like you have the Tim game. Like, are you gonna just randomly release it? Hell no. You're sweeten the pot and we'll talk. So I'm sure there's something. I don't know what the publishing deals are or what have you, but for sure there's something, like 100%.
There's something. Otherwise they wouldn't do it, because right now as a developer, why would I go to your platform when I more chance of access on Steam, right? Or maybe Epic Game Store.
Yeah.
But so it's good to see this happening. We'll see what happens with the numbers, but coming to Xbox and next-gen consoles, and the fact that it's going to be getting new content for at least the next 2 years, this year and the next. They've already announced at least 2 updates with 2 more Predators, a new Predator movie's in the works, so they could piggyback on that. That's actually really good. So I wish Elphonics a lot of luck. I hope that they are successful with their resurrection. It's very unheard of, but it just shows you example, Jared, how when you have someone like Sony, a big corporation, they only care about results, and if it doesn't, they abandon ship. And I can understand, man.
Well,
because if it's not successful, why would you pour money into something quote unquote dead?
Yeah.
But sometimes, it's just they don't have the long-term vision. And, again, it takes a lot of money to make these games, from a business we always think from the consumer standpoint. We want.
Yeah.
But from a business standpoint, it's a much different beast.
Yeah,
people forget that.
The one time where I look at it and I am perplexed is when they do it to hardware. When they do that to hardware, then I get a little confused, because I'm like, okay, look, like like Nintendo, when they launched the 3DS, it scared them, right? Like they were like, "Oh crap, we screwed this up," right? And then they lowered the price. They gave like the ambassador program a bunch of free games to all us guys.
I
that
remember
bought at
that
launch.
they did that because it didn't do good.
No, it didn't. It didn't do well.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, it didn't do well. It didn't meet the standards that they had set. And yes, really, comparatively, it did not do well. Vita comes out and very similar situation, just is not pulling the numbers that Sony wanted. But instead of doing what Nintendo did and like regroup and say, okay, wait a second here, like what do we do to pivot? They decided, okay, we're going to drop support for the system. And that I don't understand, because from a business standpoint, I don't get it. Like, why are you cutting your losses so soon?
Exactly. And think of this prime example. Look at Microsoft. Look how much money they lost with the first Xbox. Unheard of. If it was any other company, they would have given up. Any other company. But which is going to lead into our bulk of our discussion today, is Microsoft is thinking long term. Well, okay, well, we're losing money now, but long term, this is our game plan. And I think a lot of companies lack that. And well, for Nintendo's case, they have no choice. They're traditionally just a video game market company. So if they fail they don't have any. Well, they do have some backup, but
no. Yeah, I mean, they're one of the richest companies in the world. They have so much money in the bank, like they can survive 2 or 3 console failures type of thing. but the thing that's really interesting, like that's a really good case study that Steven should tell us about one day, because he's our pro Nintendo guy. Of like that was smart of them to like regroup and say, okay, what are we going to do? Like, how do we fix this? And it's incredible to see the difference between what Nintendo did and what Sony did. Like, I still to this day cannot believe that, like, PSP, if I'm not mistaken, was somewhere in the 70s, like 70 something million that thing sold. That is a huge success
number. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yes, I get it. The DS did like 150 million. Like I get it. It doubled it. But you can't ignore that, like, this was the single most successful portable any company had ever done outside of Nintendo. Like, not even close. There's no other portable that was close to the PSP's numbers that wasn't made by Nintendo. And for them to then release like a follow-up to it and then just say, oh, well, it's mobile gaming, that's what's killing everything, sorry, we're out. I still say that was very short-sighted of them to do that.
Oh, exactly. And this kind of falls back to the Predator game, is it didn't make expectations, so they said they're out. And that's one of the reasons why it's declined. Still actually has a niche user base to this day after all these years, and I'm sure it's going to grow, is their promises of bug fixes, balance stuff, it stopped. Development stopped. So from a gamer's perspective, they're like, oh, shoot, I like this game, but, well, I'm out. No one's going to support it. That's what happened with the PlayStation. It's like, well, if you're not going to support your hardware, I'm done.
Well, that's what happened to Jared. That's actually what happened to me. Like, every time a new game was coming out, I was getting more and more impressed. Like, I was like, I cannot believe I'm playing this. You know, like on a portable. Man, right? Like, I was like, this is unbelievable. And I remember, like, when the Killzone game came out, I was like, this is on a portable. And it was the last game they made, practically. Not like, I think there were a few others and stuff like that. But I was just like, you guys are nuts. Like, I don't get this. Lower the instead of AAA, bring it down to A or AA.
And I think they're doing that right now, actually, with their current console. Remember what they said? No more AAA, no more games for them this year. I think you're right. We talked about this. The industry's changing, and that they're kind of reflecting now, right?
So, are you done? Because now
I'm done.
Okay,
I just wanted to give out that 2 bits of my part.
I'm gonna get the first thing I wanted to just let people know about something I've been introduced to literally this week. That I need to talk about this just really, really quickly. And that is, I got, like, okay, so you guys know I've been playing Dragon Quest X with Cranberry for 10 years now. I don't know if it is the longest running series on YouTube. I'm not sure. We actually passed our 400th episode, which is nuts, man. Like, that's
amazing.
Like, absolutely nuts. I don't know if it's the
hiatus.
longest running. I don't know. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, Cran is really focused in on the community, right? So she's a member of the Dragon's Den. I remember the Dragon's Den from way back. Like when you and I and Steven, like we were part of the Insider forums.
Oh, I ran.
There used to be like the Square Enix like would do these little, I can't even remember what game it was for. It may have been Dragon War. Was it? No, it was Quest. Dragon Quest 8. It may have been, where they had like mini medals they were giving away. I don't remember. I don't even remember. Okay, it was so long ago. I don't even remember. But I remember Woodus. He was the founder, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, of the Dragon's Den, and it was such a cool community to be part of because we were the only ones. There was like, I swear, there was like 20 people on these message boards because nobody knew what the hell Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest was. It was like, it was in the dark ages of the Dragon Quest, and I've talked about that for years now, the two different dark ages that we had. And anyways, whatever. With Dragon Quest X in North America, like there's been communities that have formed, just like World of Warcraft, right? You have these like large communities that form all over the world and stuff like that. And the thing that I've always hated about that is the toxicity that ends up happening, right? Like it happens in every MMO, it happens in every big community, Call of Duty, all these sorts of things too, where eventually you end up with like, oh, these people said this or that person did this or blah 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 blah. So I try my hardest to stay out of the community back and forth. I enjoy playing the game. Tim, here's a copy of the game, let's play. You know, sort of thing. Like, I don't want to go into all the nitty gritty and all this sort of nonsense. However, I'm pretty sure it was a number of years ago, the Dragon Quest X Clarity Project came out. And this was something that I had heard about. We had a few people on the channel over the years saying, like, why the hell are you guys still playing this in Japanese? Like, I don't understand. And this project has affiliations with other, you know, large members of the community and stuff like that. Anyways, like I said, I'm not part of the community, so I don't have allegiances or any of this stuff. I don't know all the details and whatever. But on my PC, I was installing a bunch of mods, right? Like I just was playing Resident Evil 2 Remake in classic mode. So this guy released this mod. Oh, dude, it's awesome. It basically fixed camera angles and like all the jump scares and stuff, but it's the same game. It's the legit same game as the remake that was released, except they remove your ability to control the camera. They made something like 4,000 or something like that, like camera stills, so that it plays like the old school Resident Evil game. Dude, it's so scary. My hands were shaking as I was playing the game.
Oh, wow.
Because like the camera is like you looking at the screen, right? Like none of this over the shoulder stuff. And all you hear is like, and you can't see anything at all. And I'm like, okay, I'm about to piss myself. Anyways, so because of those mods, I was looking around and I was like, you know what? What do we have to lose? Right? Like, what do I got to lose here? I was always worried that if I installed the English translation mods, that, you know, someone might say something and Square Enix would ban the character or something like this. So I did a little research into it. And long story short, I don't want to shortchange the guys, like the work that the people did. I don't want to do this. It's a remarkable job that was done, and I'll leave it like that. But essentially what you do is you register to DeepL. Okay, I don't know if you know what DeepL is, but it's basically a translation site. It's literally DEEPL.com. And I don't understand how all websites and stuff like that don't use this company. I'm not understanding this, because Google Translate is complete garbage compared to DeepL. Like, DeepL is outstanding, man. And so what this mod does, is you literally have to sign up for a free account, like a business account, to DeepL. You get an API key, and then you take that API key, you attach it to the mod, and all of Dragon Quest X is in English. Everything, every cutscene, everything, every menu, everything, literally everything is translated to English. Is it 100%? No, but it's like 95%, man. I can now do anything in the game with ease. Literally ease. It's like, imagine being blind for years and then suddenly you can see. It's like all the advanced options, all the whatever. I can now go into the root directory of all this stuff. Before, no idea, because I would Google, like, translate some of the more complex kanji, and I'm like, what? You know, it's like pink underwear. I'm like, what? I'm like, that. What kind of setting is that? And
yeah, you never know.
Like, but it's not
interesting things to Japan.
It's not at all. So anywho, I just wanted to say, because coming up in summer, all of the Let's Plays for Dragon Quest are about to go
will be English.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
One of our community members, Nick, who actually was streaming version 7.0, he's one of our most devoted. He's watched your videos for years. That's how he found out about our community. Anyways, he plays and he has that what's it called? English. And it'll translate everything English. Yeah. He says it's not perfect.
It's not.
But for the most part, it works.
Yeah, it's not. So, it's not perfect, but dude, like, I've been playing like 3-4 days now, and I gotta say, like, the first time you do it, you're just like, wow, like for someone like me who's played the game for like 10 years now, you're just like, holy crap. So the new expansion just got released. This week I'm gonna do an unboxing video. Nothing, the collector's edition, man, they're getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, but like, it's going to be the first expansion I can actually understand the story fully.
Oh, nice.
From right away. And like, Cranberry and I have already done 4 videos of this that are scheduled for, you know, like
that's
ages from
good.
now. But it is good.
See it.
Yeah, it's really it's cool.
I wonder if Cranberry watches these videos, but if she does, I'm going to ask her actually one of these days next time I see her online. Final Fantasy 14 has a free demo where you can get up to level 770, and it's a real popular MMO. I wonder why Cranberry never plays that. Is it why did you ever try the Final Fantasy MMO?
I did.
Think it was Square.
I did play.
You didn't like it?
No, it's not. I didn't like it. It's, you know how it is, dude. Like, time, man. Like, you like.
Oh yeah.
There's only so much, and yeah, and that's that. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, just because, like, I was really blown away, to be really honest. Like,
I can't wait. It'll be fun.
Totally blown away. Okay.
Because now, I want 2 series from you now: Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, what the hell is the president's name? I can't think of his name right now.
Who?
Of Xbox.
President. Oh, Phil's. What's his name?
It's not Phil Harrison.
Spencer, right?
Spencer, yeah.
Not
thank
Harrison.
you.
Yeah, Spencer,
thank you. So he was giving an interview and whatnot, and a long story short, he was basically talking about, like, the future of gaming in general, right? And there's been a lot of kind of interesting developments happening with Epic Games and Microsoft. And, like, you know, people are like, oh, Microsoft's going to buy Epic Games and this and that and everything else. But now it's starting to become a little clearer what is going on. So Microsoft's been backing Epic Games in their lawsuit with Apple about sideloading stores onto the iPhone. And basically saying, like, you guys have a monopoly, you're charging... And I agree with this, just FYI. As a developer myself, I can tell you, it is ridiculous that a company... So, get this. In order for me to release my product on iOS, I have to have a Mac. If I don't have a Mac, I can't upload it to TestFlight, which is their testing environment, okay? So you have to have a Mac. You can't emulate it. You can't do anything. It's got to be a legit Mac that you have. So I'm using their product. So they're getting money from me for their product. my product is going to make your store, your platform more lucrative, right? Like that's the idea. I'm not literally talking about my product per se. I'm not talking about Eva itself, but the idea is like the more you release products, the more lucrative your platform is because it has access to all of these things. So what do I get out of this? You're taking 30% of everything I make. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, that's a bit much.
Like it is a bit much. Like that's a bit much, man. You're taking 30% just so I can sell my product on your platform. Like, ouch,
it's ridiculous,
man. And so anyway, so big court case going on about all of this. And I found it a little suspicious that Microsoft was doing, like, why would Microsoft give a damn? Like what? Microsoft's going to push what? Xbox on iOS? Okay, maybe. That's their idea. And I understand Game Pass is getting there, right? Like it is getting there. It's slowly building up. It's getting more users and more games and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe that's the idea. But now it's coming to light through various interviews and stuff that, and I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. Apple will lose this court case. They're going to lose this because it's too much. If it was like 15% or something like that, I think they would win. But 30% plus the fact that you have to buy all of their products and stuff like that, like I'm pretty sure the courts are going to say, yes, this is a monopolistic, you're acting like a monopoly type of thing right now. So imagine this world. Imagine a world where Steam, the Epic Game Store, Itch. If you guys don't know what Itch is, itch.io is like the world's #1 platform for indie releases.
Oh, nice.
So imagine those 3 digital fronts plus Game Pass on one platform. Now, for Tim, he's going to tell me, yeah, it's called a PC. And I'm going to agree with you. It is called a PC. And the rumors right now are saying that the next Xbox is going to ditch the concept of a console and make basically a Steam Deck console running Windows environment and DirectX, have day one Steam, the Epic Game Store, Itch, and Game Pass all on that one platform. Now, the caveat, well, not caveat, but the thing for everyone to remember is Sony has gone all in on PC right now. Like Horizon, like you can buy, I forget what they're calling it, like the complete edition or whatever. It supports ultra widescreen. It supports the DLSS or whatever the hell that's called, the NVIDIA, like crazy tech, uncapped frame rates, and so on and so forth, right? Can you imagine if this is true, if this is legitimately true, and it's sure looking like it, guys, this could fundamentally change the entire way we look at consoles. Because if this is true, it basically means that the next Xbox will literally be a PC with, I mean, I don't think they're going to allow you to change, graphics cards and all this sort of stuff, but it'll be a PC, meaning it will play all games.
Yeah, that's such an amazing move. Yeah,
Nintendo, right? Like, no, but who cares? Like, my point is that if you're Sony in a situation like that, you're kind of like, okay, well, then there's no longer a point to doing exclusives.
Yeah, exactly. And, like I told you, and we said it many times, isn't it? Is Sony I think it was 15 years ago or whatever, they told, you remember that quote that they said that hardware's not the future.
Yeah.
Their vision is to make PlayStation a brand store front like Steam.
Yeah.
But they're so behind, Jared, the competition.
I know,
and
but this could
is
force their
huge.
hand.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
type of thing could totally force their hand, because the way I see it is I'm like, okay, if your number one direct competitor, right, like as in similar specs and stuff like that, goes in that direction, and if I was just telling you guys like last month or whatever how awesome the Steam Deck is, and the
Yep.
Steam Deck is friggin' emulation, right? It's a
Yeah,
Linux
and
machine.
and it gives you freedoms. And that I don't know how much. Another thing about Microsoft, traditionally they don't allow full freedom. Like they won't allow you probably install their own custom OSs, but they usually, but that's beside the point. So Steam Deck's, very versatile device. They don't really care. They say do whatever you want with it. It's yours.
No,
right?
yeah, right.
So
And
Microsoft
even if,
might not have that.
I don't
much
think
freedom,
they're
but-
no, and I don't think they're gonna go like that. I think if like this is what people gotta like try to understand here. It's like if they double down, right? Like if they could release a product that someone like Steven, and I'm not doing that. We always bug Steven, but like what I'm getting by that is like plug and play solution. That's Steven. He's the type of guy. He just wants to plug in his HDMI cable, press the power, and that's it. I'm good. I don't want to worry about all this garbage of customizing this and that and everything else. And there are millions of people like him.
that are like that. Yes,
that are
and
like
that's
that.
why. Yeah, that's why mobile's one of the big reasons. Well, plus everyone has a mobile phone, right? You can't beat that platform. Everyone has it, right?
Yeah, no, right. But now imagine this. So like imagine that kind of scenario where you have a box that has access to everything.
Yep.
Like I can't stress this enough, guys. Like
Yeah, for someone like exactly. For someone like Steven, I know he'll listen to this, he'll be able to get Steam games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He'll finally be able to play what we're playing, real games, by the way. Steve.
yeah, here we goes.
Well,
Like-
the thing is, if you listen to what he says, Steven's not really into gaming much anymore.
No,
anyways.
no, I know,
But-
and I like using him as the good case study though, like
Yeah.
because it's like guys, like if I tell you a number, I'm lying because I don't remember. But Steam has like tens of thousands of games
Yes.
from
Yes.
from multiple generations ago. And if Microsoft is able, because Microsoft controls DirectX, like they are the keepers of the keys to our gaming history from a technology standpoint. Like they if they're able to somehow have this thing easily run like Windows 11, 10, 8, 7, XP, like in other words, like I want to be able to go back and play Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis as an example. And if I can just go in my Steam library, say re-download, and it just plays.
Yeah, and I think this is because let's be honest, guys. Let's look at it. A couple options. Microsoft. The rumor about a handheld seems to be becoming more true
That's the
and
other
true
one.
every day,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Microsoft's not stupid. They're going to go there right now. Like, well, look at what's happened in the past. Nintendo's undisputed champion. We're never going to be able to compete with Nintendo if we just release a handheld with our games. Never going to happen. So, like you said, well, let's see if we release it with our stuff plus Steam plus Epic, like the Steam Deck, where Steam Deck's been, it's not putting Switch numbers, but it's not a failure either. So.
No, it's that's a different
Yeah.
market, right? Like that's a different market. And I think, this is by far the most successful hardware Valve's ever released. And yes, 100%. It's like what, 3 times the price of the Switch.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to do a comparison with Switch, but I do think that Microsoft, Sony, like are paying attention to both sides. So you've got the Switch is the mainstream. Everyone buys 6 of them, right? Like they're cheap enough that I can buy one for my kid, I can buy one for my wife, can buy one for whatever. Like I can, and that's the thing. Like Steven will tell you, he probably has like 4 of the damn things.
Does he really? Shit.
Like, but I don't know, man. Like when I heard that, when I was reading that, and I just was sitting back and it was like, man. Like, because right now on Steam, unless I'm mistaken, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have Steam open or no?
Yeah, I do.
You want to type in Ghost of and put TSU. Ghost of
TSU. SU.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah, here we go. Director's cut.
Perfect. Okay.
All right,
That's good enough. No, it's good enough, man. I just wanted to see if it was available. So that means, like, theoretically, be it a handheld. I don't know which one they would start. Like, I don't know if they'd start with the handheld model or if this would be the next Xbox. I don't know. But could you just imagine playing Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, and Uncharted on an Xbox?
Yeah, you see, this is a good example because it is, by the way, FYI, for in case you guys don't know, it is a PlayStation. It's by Sucker Punch, it's a developer and some other company, but it's by PlayStation, so it's another exclusive that is coming to a PC. It appears it comes out May 16th, so a little while for the PC. But man, you're right, it's another another thing. So you on X, see the guys how this is such a huge thing. You could literally play PlayStation games on the Xbox.
That's it. And moving forward, Sony has said they're so impressed with what's the game you're playing.
Helldivers 2.
Yeah, thank you.
Success.
Huge success. And now Sony is like, well, F this. It's gonna come day and date on PlayStation and PC. Well, guys, if this rumor is true, then that means it would come day and date on your Xbox and on your PlayStation.
It's funny because PlayStation's traditionally, they have exclusive, but some of their exclusives or their published stuff comes out on Switch. The MLB New 124.
Oh yeah.
Came on Xbox as well.
Yeah.
So I think the day we talked so many different times, the development costs of these games are way too much. It is bad business decision to lock yourself to one. And Predator's Hunting Grounds is a prime example. If that had been on it is on PC, but if it had been on competition, the Switch probably couldn't handle it, etc. Xbox, it might have been a way different story, right? But dude, these exclusives are a thing of the past.
But that's
people need to
exactly what I'm getting at. This is exactly what I'm getting at. Is like, if Microsoft is able to do this, like if this works, basically, I think from what we have called the modern ultra graphics, whatever, basically non-Nintendo, platforms, I think it's over. Like, I think if Microsoft does this, because I don't see a world in which, like, how do you keep going? Again, not Nintendo. Nintendo's the exception because they make their own unique hardware. They make their own unique games. They are the exception. So I'm excluding them. But between Microsoft and Sony, I don't see how you continue. I just don't. And you and I have been talking about this, honestly, for months now. I think we've been doing this podcast. And I am a firm believer that hardware is almost over. Like, we're getting to a point. I mean, do I have it here? No. I bought the Backbone. You know what that is? It's basically like a controller. You pull it open, you put your phone in there.
So I've seen that. And another thing too, I'm not a mobile gamer by any means, but I dabble in like Warcraft Rumble and like Marvel Snap on PC. Well, not Rumble, but some of these, I was looking at this one guy, I was watching Rumble content, his the big mobile games of 2024 coming out. Dude, and some of these are PUBG. These are first person shoot, and the visuals, you're like, wow, the things that the mobile phones. Dude. Well, you can't see because of the hidden. But anyway, I'm holding.
Put it to your chest. You'll see it. There you go.
These are producing graphics that match or exceed the Switch already by a good amount. They're never going to be your top tier PC. They're never going to have the same visuals. But they're like a mid-range. They could probably start matching some mid-range, lower tier PC in terms of visual, and that's amazing, dude. You remember how back in the day most mobile games were just pre-rendered backgrounds and little sprites? Not anymore, dude.
Well, no.
And I'm telling you, the new generation are mobile, man. I cannot empathize. And even didn't you say Steven's kids get kind of bored and they like their phone more? Yeah. So you see, I'm telling you, dude, and it's kind of interesting because it hurts both.
Well, dude,
consoles.
The thing is, it's like, that's kind of why I'm like, when this news broke, I actually got a little excited because I was like, that is something I have never done that I've always wanted to do was to take a gaming rig and connect it to my television. I always wanted to do that because as cool as this is, and I'm not talking about the whole like Twitch setup and you have, no, I'm talking about nothing to me beats a sofa, putting your feet up on an ottoman, or if you have a lazy boy or whatever, nothing beats that. Like nothing beats that. And I've just never been able to do it. But if they're able to find a way to really like get the PC experience on your television uncompromised, like 100% the exact same games, the exact same everything, dude, like
that's huge.
That's really huge.
Yeah.
And that's why this news, I was like, I can't wait to talk about this, because if this happens, this is literally going to change. Like, if you're PlayStation and that comes out, I'd basically be like, get on the app. We need a PlayStation app immediately, and we're going to sideload that on the Xbox.
And honestly, I don't see Sony being able to match this, man. There, a couple of reasons. One, I don't think, I hate to say it, but Sony's probably a little bit too prideful. It might be a cultural thing too. Japanese companies traditionally are very, what would we say? They're very conservative, right? Obviously, Sony's drastically changing. They're focusing on Western markets, but I don't know if their executives ever kind of had the vision that Microsoft is having right with this. Dude, I don't think they would.
They heard the same thing we did.
I could be wrong.
But they heard the exact same thing we did, right? And if you're not an executive sitting there, like I've always thought of this like in modern times of like Nintendo, right? Like, I understand you and I we're not Nintendo, right? So like for me, I don't understand why I can't watch Disney Plus on my Switch. Like I don't get that.
That's an example of what I'm trying to tell you. That Nintendo, let's not deviate too much, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say, and how it built into Sony too, because they're both Japanese. That's what I think is maybe a business culture for them compared to Western. And no disrespect towards Japanese companies. I mean, it's just the differences between the two. Like Nintendo, like Twitch, I think they finally got a Twitch Discord. They don't allow a lot of outside thing that their competition does. Like Microsoft and everyone embraces. I can understand the argument. Like Cranberry's always said this to me. Well, Nintendo's a family company. They don't want. I understand that, but there's warnings. There's adults.
Yeah.
You cannot. You cannot belittle your consumer. You can't say, well, we don't want to do this because you're too stupid to not understand. And it is. It's at the end of the day, with their excuses of, oh, we want to protect. It's bullshit. Kids are gonna do kids things. It's a parent's responsibility. That's besides the point. The point is,
I can't wait for Steven's comments.
Yeah, well, it's true. And Steven can't defend Nintendo on this because they've been very reluctant. And not only Sony, it's Nintendo, but Sony as well. But once their hand is dealt to them, like Sony has been, things change, but the Nintendo's in a good position. Yeah, he can't defend that because what I'm saying is true. On the Switch, you cannot get a lot of stuff, and I don't like these lame ass excuses because of bullshit.
Okay, well,
because it's true. At the end of the day, they probably don't want to play royalties, or I don't know.
Where I was going with this before your rant, which was I cannot wait to see Steven.
Steven, he's
gonna say he's gonna be like he's gonna say for sure he's gonna be like it's their platform, they can do whatever the hell they want.
Oh yeah, that's such a lame excuse if he's gonna say that because it's bullshit. You got to do what your competition, and that's the reason why Nintendo still is considered a baby's toy, right? Which is amazing that has that negative stereotype when most Switch users are in their 20s.
Okay,
I don't get it.
Okay, where I was going with this was to say, like, I understand that I'm not part of their board, right? Like, that's why I said, like, for me, like, I would make sure that your Netflixes and stuff like that were on there. It's cool if they go in a different direction. They go in a different direction. But what I was gonna say is, if I'm hearing stuff like this, right? I still want to do my own thing. I want to have my own system. I want to have it all controlled. I'm not saying about that, but they do have a partnership. They're with NVIDIA, right? I think.
Who?
Nintendo?
Yeah, NVIDIA.
Okay. Why don't we look at like having, access to something like GeForce Now?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I get it. I know I can already hear people screaming at me saying, yeah, but then Nintendo doesn't get royalties off of that. I didn't say GeForce Now directly. I'm saying something like that, where, like, there's got to be part of Nintendo somewhere where they look at some of this and say, well, that's revenue that we're missing.
How many times have I told you this, dude? I'm still shocked that they haven't aggressively embraced mobile more when they have Pokemon Go. You see how much money that game makes? And why aren't they on Steam like the others? And I understand.
Well, no, that I can
Steven
understand.
will always say, I can understand too. Oh, because it gives less reason. Well, because if I could get Mario Kart on the PC, why would I ever buy a Switch, etc.? I understand that, but it's potential revenue. And Nintendo's smart. They could do stuff like, well, we have a 6 months to a year exclusive on Switch, but in a year you get it on the PC.
No, but I think
that's the stuff that
I can still, like, from a business standpoint, I can still understand that they want all associations of Nintendo on their stuff. Like, I can get that. I'm not actually talking about Nintendo. And Steven, you're listening to this, I'm sure. I'd actually seriously like to hear, like, your thoughts on some of this, because I know that some of the third parties have done this, right? Like Capcom, for example.
Oh, yeah, they do, yep.
But I'm just wondering, like, I'd like to hear people's thoughts about, like, Nintendo providing, and I don't know how, I'm not the tech guy, but, like, providing access to that kind of sort of streaming platform, if you will, for third parties. So there would be like a third party portal or something like that where your Capcoms and your, I used to say Konami, poor Konami, I miss those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like Ubisoft, EA, all these types of guys, where if they wanted to, that they could release their products through that particular streaming type of thing.
Yeah, you
still get all the royalties. And I understand the sales, because I'm sure some people are going to comment and say, yeah, but not everybody has access to that. And it's like, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, if Microsoft was smart, you know, they remember the back years when they were trying to buy Nintendo, and they actually met with Nintendo executives. And read up the story, guys. They got laughed at. They said they literally went to a meeting and got laughed at for 40 minutes or something.
Yeah,
but Nintendo, they were Microsoft was very much wanting to buy Nintendo, and Nintendo laughed at them. That's prideful, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. A lot of Japanese companies, that's very unprofessional. Don't do that. But anyway, that's besides the point. Nintendo, I think if Microsoft was smart, they would do a partnership for their Xbox Game Pass subscription, cloud only, like you said, because they have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
A lot of their games, by the way, are clouds. I have to start playing on cloud just see the person between the install.
If your net is good, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Now, obviously, that's a bottleneck. Not everyone's going to have that. So, but for the people that do, they should go to Nintendo and say, look, you get 90% of the profits, et cetera, et cetera. We don't care. Give us a little bit here and this, but we want to do where you control that. We'll host whatever, all the technical stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Let us do certain of your titles exclude. Now, Nintendo's never going to do it, and I can understand what Steven says, and I can understand why Nintendo wants it. They want to protect their brand. They've worked extremely hard to establish their IPs as family friendly, et cetera. I understand that. But at the end of the day, there's money on the table that they're not collecting.
Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody understands, like, exactly like where I'm going with this, of what exactly I'm talking about. Just because I don't want to, otherwise there's gonna be like a million back and forth here. So what I'm saying is, Nintendo pulls a Nintendo. They release their own, their own hardware, their own thing, blah blah blah, whatever, right? But that they allow on the back end to the development community a solution that allows any modern day PC and or Xbox and or PlayStation game from third parties to be available day and date on their platform. That is what I'm saying. Okay, that's what I'm saying. And if anyone says, "Oh my God, that's so much work," and this, not, it isn't at all. If you provide the sort of the tools, it could be playing on an Xbox for all anyone knows, and you're basically just streaming that from that device, there's not much coding and stuff that you actually have to do.
People don't realize how, and if they were smart about it, they would. But this is Nintendo. They're very, very behind on tech. I mean, look at their garbage tech that they have. But at the end of the day, they make great games, so it doesn't matter. But that kind of fits in that rumor that Xbox might be coming on as a launcher or something on the next Switch. That, again, this is Nintendo, dude. But if Nintendo was smart, they would allow it. But I really
don't see. I'm more curious to hear people's thoughts about what I'm talking about, because it would be exactly Switch. You would never know the difference. Like, to you guys, you would never know the difference. You just see Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8. That's it. That, like, just exactly like what's on the Switch right now. But what I'm saying is Nintendo would provide it open to their third parties as an option, because it's bothered me where it's like the Switch has been so unbelievably successful. Imagine if you're Capcom. I don't know about you, man, but I want Resident Evil 45 on the Switch. Like, I want it on the Switch, because there's like 150 gajillion people who have that platform.
And two, there is some cloud games on Switch which pushes the limits of what the Switch can natively do. So you have visuals that are better. But the problem with cloud is, I'm lucky because I'm in LA, so I have, beautiful internet and stuff like that and speeds, but not everyone does in the US.
No, and I mean,
Japan and Korea are way ahead of the US in terms of internet backbones and infrastructure overall. So they could probably take a huge advantage of it, but those are different markets. But yeah, in the United States especially, I don't know about Canada, but United States is not that great infrastructure wise.
No, and I get it.
That's unfortunate.
And that's why I'm saying you don't invest heavily into this. You give the tools.
Yes.
And it's like a company. Option. Yeah, exactly. Like a company like Capcom, if I were to take like that Resident Evil, they know it's not going to sell 20 million units on the Switch if it's only streaming. Like, they know that.
Yeah.
But at least the option would be there. And it's like, if the next Switch, what is it, Wi-Fi 6, 7?
Yeah.
Whatever the new
6.
whatever the new Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
is.
6 is the latest for the most part.
So if you have that, if you have that antenna on the Switch 2 or whatever it's called, like, anyways, that's the only thing with the strategy for the next Switch that when I think of it, I'm like, I just kind of hope that there's something there for the third parties. Not about us. It's not about any of that. Just that would allow them to easily allow players access to that. It would be cool.
And it's going to be interesting to get the Switch too, because there's a lot of comments Nintendo's said is they're going to be aggressively outsourcing their IP. So it looks like they're kind of stepping back. I mean, from development, and we've said this many times, they don't really make that many games, dude. They make what? How many through a console's lifetime? That's been historical. That's not just the Switch. It's like but the games they do make are huge sellers, so that's great. But it's going to be interesting. Is Nintendo kind of changing gears here, prepping for something different? But the biggest hurdle on that they need to cover is with the Switch 2 is one thing I hate about Nintendo's products or storefront in general is each generation it's done. 3DS store gone. So if you can't download that game you bought, if something goes wrong, you're screwed, right? So I can understand what that whole digital versus physical argument is when Nintendo's valid. But they claim that you'll be able to transition to the next Switch with this current stuff. So I'll be able to play my downloaded content I have on my current Switch on the new Switch. That, if they can make a promise, is a great step in the right direction. But
well, we'll see.
Nintendo's so far behind, man.
No, so that's a whole other thing. So anyways, guys, I'd really love to hear what you think of if Microsoft is able to do that and a console that plugs into your television or a handheld that, just like the Steam Deck, but that it natively runs some version of Windows that would allow you to have access to Steam, Epic Game Store, itch, and the Game Pass or Xbox Game Pass. I don't know about you guys, but like, to me,
that's game changer.
That's pretty damn game changing. I would totally do it. I know me. I would totally do that. The first thing I do, I
Yeah, because
download,
don't
like,
get
Uncharted.
because you were thinking about a Steam Deck too. I think you should wait, man, because if
Oh,
Microsoft does,
dude,
it's supposed to be much better.
Steam Deck 2. Valve's already said is somewhere in like 2026 is what they're talking about.
Oh, it's not that far away though.
No, but like Microsoft already, we've seen pictures of what the disc-less,
the mock-ups,
like Xbox looks like. But anyway, all right, guys, we're past our time. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think about some of these topics. I'm sure Steven's gonna rant out. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, poor Steven.
That's okay. All right, guys.
Just an old man.
We'll catch you next week. Take care, everyone.
Take care.